Hi, my name is Vivi Stutz. I'm a licensed mental health counselor in the state of Washington, and I work in private practice, Phoenix Rises Counseling. And today, I would like to help you learn to trace the cause of a panic attack. So what that means is that if you're experiencing panic attacks, I'm pretty sure you know if you are, or these really, really intense bouts of anxiety, that you learn how to recognize what set it off and make sense to it and label your experience, acknowledge your experience, and understand that a panic attack and the physical reactions that are very difficult to control, that they're involuntary, and it's a natural response. I want you to know that you're not crazy, you're not broken, there's nothing wrong with you. I know it can feel crazy, but the moment you know what's happening with you and you can give words to it and you can even track it and you know what triggered it, it will calm down your nervous system. Everything that scares us and we don't know what it is, well, that increases anxiety. And if we understand what's happening, and we can label it and say, oh, this is what's going on, and this is what's going on in my brain, and this is what I can do about it. If we can identify the scary thing, then we're not so scared of it anymore. And so the anxiety goes down, and it soothes the nervous system. It brings down the high arousal. So that's the goal for this video. So I am using my own example. I had the mother of all panic attacks in a CVS store where I went with my husband. And it was so intense that I started to hyperventilate. It was very difficult to breathe deeply. I said, no, I need to do, I was crouching down because I started to get dizzy and I was shaking really hard. At times my teeth were clattering, also couldn't control it, and the brain gets scrambled. It can get scrambled in a panic attack. So the short-term memory is impaired, the stress hormones do something to the brain chemistry where our short-term memory doesn't function very well. Also frontal lobes, where we make rational decisions, that might be impaired. It doesn't work as well. And so you can be forgetful and confused, disoriented, just dealing with the physical sensations that can feel like a heart attack. It's just usually lacking the chest pain and the radiating pain into I think it's the right shoulder. I have to look that up again. Right shoulder and arm. So it is different from a heart attack, but a lot of clients have told me it feels like one because the heart is just beating so rapidly, and it's not really physical pain usually, but sharp sensations of anxiety in the body. So this is what happened to me. I calmed myself down, and I, as a therapist, started to track it to see what's being triggered for me, what's going on, and where it's coming from. And so I was thinking about it. Well, what happened in the hours leading up to it? Oh, yes, there was an event. We were in the parking lot. We got out of the car to buy sunscreen at CVS, and somebody ran me over from behind. So there was a person, just a guy, he had bought some fast food, and he was running to his huge truck, and his girlfriend was waiting for the fast food. I wore bright pink, but he didn't see me anyway. I guess it was very urgent. And he apologized, and he was obviously no threat. But what happened to me is that I got knocked down in public. It hurt. I almost fell, and he hurt my back. And that registered. That triggered the amygdala, all part of the brain, the survival center. The precious part that alerts us a little bit too eagerly sometimes to keep us safe in all situations. So it activated my amygdala. Ooh, danger. Something scary happened. And then I'm tracking it further, and actually what came to my awareness was that I'm in LA, because I spent the greater part of the last 4 years living in Germany. Right now I live in Germany and in Los Angeles. I lived there 25 years before, but I had a long break in Germany, in a small town where the town doesn't even have a police department because they don't need it. That's how safe it is. And and all of a sudden I was back in Los Angeles, and that's a place where violent events happened in the past. So I experienced violent crime, violent assaults a few times. And so it brought me back into the location that, Los Angeles is dangerous. And so then I was tracking further. Okay, what happened? What happened that primed my amygdala nervous system to panic attack? What started the high arousal? And then I remembered that maybe a week prior to that panic attack, my husband came home at midnight from walking the dogs, and he had told me that a homeless person who was experiencing mental illness had attacked him, but the dogs, was trying to get at the dogs and hurt the dogs. And our dogs are small and very old. One is blind and deaf, so they can't run or defend themselves. So my husband picked them up and ran with them. And so obviously he was a little bit aroused when he came home, where we're living right now in LA, and told me about it. And that was upsetting for me, that something scary just happened. Something scary happened to my husband and to the dogs. So, and that already set off some anxiety, scary things happened. So already started to awaken my nervous system and sensitize the amygdala that let's be more careful than usual. And so I tracked it further. I was thinking, okay, and what else happened that was similar? So yeah, like being pushed all of a sudden in public in Los Angeles. And I remembered that actually after my husband was attacked with the dogs, we went shopping. It was also late at night. I think we wanted some dessert with our red wine on a Friday night. And my husband grabbed my hand and ran with me and just pulled me after him. And that set me off, that scared me. And once we were further away, he told me that he had seen the same homeless person still in an episode of mental illness, and that person seemed still dangerous. And so he grabbed me and ran without explaining. And again, that aroused my nervous system a little bit more. Activated the amygdala. Scary things happen in LA. In a parking lot. Oh, that stuck with me too. In a parking lot at night. Bad. That also got stored as new information for the amygdala, and then later on had an aftershock. But so I tracked it like that, and then I tracked it to experiences in California. It's like riding it back in time. The feeling, the situations, they're similar. Riding back in time, scanning in the past to see what happened to me that was similar. And again, I was targeted by violent crime a few times, but there were 2 times in Los Angeles that really stuck out for me. And at this point, I want to say, because there's another event that is related to a homeless person experiencing mental illness, I want to be very clear that we don't do any judgment here of these people. I work with homeless people experiencing mental illness for a year in Los Angeles, long time ago, and I love the work. I loved the work and I loved working with them. Those were people from Skid Row. And in my eyes, they are, not the perpetrators, but victims of a system that is extremely unkind, and they would need help, and they need a mental health outreach. So I never pressed charges when I was attacked, assaulted personally. So, but please don't judge them. They are in a very, very tough situation and traumatized themselves, and they may be experiencing episodes of mental illness. So no judging of them, please. I'm just explaining what happened to me and what triggers panic attacks for me. So I wrote it back in time, and the first memory that came to mind actually was a few years past in LA. And I was on a train. I was trying to get from Long Beach to downtown LA with my bicycle to get to my workplace. I was trying to avoid the commute. And I was attacked by gang members on that train, and I ended up with a broken nose. And the police was called, people got arrested, the train was stopped, and I didn't press charges. The police did, but everyone had to leave the train, and I found myself in Compton, alone with my bicycle, with a train load full of very, very angry people that were mad at me, that I somehow had caused them having to get off the train and the rest, and they were all late for work, so they were very angry, and I was there alone. Not a good idea by the police, I think, but that's what happened. And also my nose was broken, so that was unpleasant. And I also had to get to work too, and work afterwards. And so that was very, very scary for me to be attacked, nose broken. And I also left alone with a crowd of really angry people that were chewing me out. And giving meaning to what happened in a way that I didn't intend. That it was that it had to do with skin color, which it didn't. Anyways, they were angry, understandably so. And Compton is, not totally my neighborhood. I don't belong there. This neighborhood belongs to other people. But so that event happened, and then I tracked it further back. What else happened that was similar and really scary that happened to me in public? And that's to say, please, no judgment against homeless people. They are in inhumane conditions. And all of us, if we lived in those conditions for long enough, may very well experience mental illness or episodes of psychosis. Can happen to anyone. So please don't judge them. But what happened to me was that I was, actually I was just at an ATM machine. I was crouching down to sign a check, and a homeless person came running around the corner, grabbed me by the neck, believed that I was keeping notes on them as I was writing my check, grabbed me by the throat, tried to strangle me, and pushed me on the ground. And I wasn't sure if I would survive the event. So, to put it mildly, that was really, really scary and very traumatizing. And I went into trauma treatment afterwards. Again, it was a few years ago, but I was not EMDR certified at the time. I used brain spotting, and I had thought that the trauma was worked through, but it wasn't. Actually, I'm going to choose EMDR. I'm looking for an EMDR therapist to reprocess the trauma, and to complete it so I don't get triggered anymore. But at the time, I used a different trauma treatment. It was not as effective for me, and so apparently this is why this is getting triggered again. So this is how I tracked my panic attack. Being attacked in LA, in public, dangerous place. So then the nervous system goes into high arousal. So that means now I'm prone to anxiety and panic attacks Thanks a lot. Until I find the right therapist to work with. But that's what's going on right now. And see. So, and what happens is that, yes, if I leave the house where we're living right now and I'm outside, the smallest thing can set off anxiety and can set off a panic attack because my amygdala is already primed for that. And it's like having no skin. Having no skin and everything is really frightening. And a physical response takes over that can't just be controlled. There's a way of containing panic attacks, but when they first start, like the shaking and the teeth clattering and hyperventilating, it just happens. And there's a way of calming it down, but the panic attacks, they just happen, and yeah, they just happen. I can't just talk myself out of it, and you probably can't. You can't either. So now I'm walking around in LA, and every time I go outside, like I'm in high arousal right now. So, and what happened yesterday, I was at a gym working out, and a young guy came running at me, waving his arms. I don't know if he was tall, he was muscular, he was very, very young. And he got terribly upset and said that I took his machine and freaked out. And it triggered a mild panic attack for me because, again, I was in public in Los Angeles, the gym, so it was indoors, but it's still kind of a public space. And a person came running at me, expressing aggression or upset, flailing their arms. So that again caused a mild panic attack. Calm myself down that moment and give the guy a piece of my mind because I've been a personal trainer for so long. I know gym etiquette, probably actually before he was born. But I still had that panic attack, and my husband picked me up and also wanted to cancel the gym membership anyway. And from the panic attack, my brain was so jumbled that I could not remember my phone number. I needed that to cancel the membership. My husband by now understands enough about panic attacks that he then stepped in and, and told them my name, my birth date, and my phone number. It's kind of funny. Not when it happens in the moment, it's not funny at all, but just thinking about it, like, geez, that very young person in the gym caused a panic attack when they clearly weren't scary, but that's just what happens because the amygdala is activated, the nervous system is primed, so and things set off panic attacks and intense anxiety much more easily until I do more work with myself, and ideally just I'm heading to an EMDR therapist to get proper treatment and finish the trauma so I don't get triggered anymore. Another thing that stuck with me was parking structure. So once my husband picked me up, I experienced another wave of intense anxiety, close to a panic attack in the parking structure. I was tracing that back in time. What's happened that was similar? And a few weeks earlier, I was in that parking structure at night with a friend, and she got really upset because I didn't get in the car fast enough. Apparently, some guy was looking at me. I didn't see it. I also didn't think anything of it. Right now, we're in living in Woodland Hills. I thought this was a very safe area, but she got upset. She got activated in the parking structure, and so that got stored in my amygdala. Oh, add parking structures to to the dangerous places, and also parking lots, because dangerous things happen there. So that got added to the file in my amygdala. So then, walking from the gym back, being in a parking structure, the environment alone was enough to set off a panic attack of, and really, if I write it back in time, it's because scary things happened in LA years ago. What happened next? Oh, yeah. Oh, I tracked it further. And then I remembered very recently that I was in a parking lot outside of a restaurant, and my husband walked away, and I was alone in the parking lot, big open empty space, dark, Los Angeles, 10:30 at night. And I had a massive panic attack there. Totally freaked out. It was, again, because my amygdala is already activated. My nervous system is in high arousal. And it's like as if I'm having all these sensors out to sense danger. And now LA, open places, angry people who come at me very, very fast physically or look physically threatened, they're all dangerous. In parking lots and parking structures, very, very dangerous. So all of that can now trigger panic attacks. And the more often it happens, the more often we experience anxiety and panic attacks, it primes the nervous system to amp up a little bit more and a little bit more. So it's like the thin skin around us, or the skin that's already thin, is getting thinner and thinner and thinner, and everything becomes triggering. And that's very often the point where we feel like we're a little bit crazy if we don't understand it. And it primes, it gets worse. We're becoming more and more sensitized to possible triggers or possible sources of danger. And it's our trauma center, the amygdala, just making sure that we survive and that we recognize every possible threat in the environment, and that stress hormones are running through our body. Adrenaline, cortisol, neurotransmitters, glutamate, all kinds of things, so that I'm ready and you're ready for fight, flight, freeze, fawn, whatever it takes to be safe and survive the threat. So I'm constantly flooded with these stress hormones. And then it generalizes. Because the more I practice the anxiety and the more the nervous system becomes sensitized, like the easier it is to get triggered. And by now it's so intense that if my husband, when he doesn't sleep much at night because he has an inhumane workload, then if he's irritable and snappy, so even that triggers intense anxiety, because just because he's a person and sounds aggressive, irritable, is tired, and so that could be potentially dangerous. So that's enough now to set off a panic attack too. And so that's where I'm at. And that's how you can trace back a panic attack to what happened, and also understand what is likely to continue happening. That you have more anxiety and you're more and more prone to panic attacks. What very often happens is that a person stays at home and says, oh, going outside makes me anxious, so I better not go outside. That's a very bad idea, because your life becomes very limited. It's not much fun, and it gets harder and harder to survive. So avoidance, of course, makes sense. We avoid sources of danger, but in all reality, parking structures, actually, I think I'm going to avoid now, but not every parking lot is going to be dangerous at all times. We want to bring down the nervous system. And here I want to explain that. So these traumatic events of being assaulted in public, they happened to me really a few years ago. I had them treated. I thought they were finished, and then not treated with EMDR, but I thought they were complete. And I lived in Germany, and there were no such triggers in the environment. So I thought I had worked through these trauma successfully, and it wouldn't come up anymore. And now I'm noticing that, oh, I'm having PTSD symptoms. Again, I'm having panic attacks, and I startle or jump or scream when just somebody's coming at me too quickly when they're walking their dog. It's just PTSD. It's triggered probably because we're in California, a similar environment. And the way I cope with that, and the way I suggest you cope with that, is to never make yourself wrong. Never talk to yourself in a mean way. So the way I talk to myself in this case is like to just practice no self-judgment. So no mean words, and also acknowledgement. Oh, these are trauma triggers. I'm experiencing panic attacks. A trauma is being triggered. Oh, let me find out where this is coming from. Let me see what's being triggered, what's unfinished in my consciousness that it would escalate again instead of panic attacks and set off post-traumatic stress disorder, which I thought that, well, this part of it, I've had several experiences throughout my life, but I thought this one was finished. Like, oh, it's coming up. So to look at it with a sense of curiosity and no self-judgment. It's just trauma. It's natural. It's a natural survival response. It's not convenient, but it doesn't mean that anything is wrong with you, and you don't need to make yourself wrong. And you also don't need to be mean to yourself if you can't control it, because again, let's face it, like this is hormonal and stress hormones. Like if we can control the hormones in our body, wouldn't we all do that already? But we can't, right? So if somebody tells you, just step out of it, just stop it, pull yourself together, and tell them, well, this looks like a trauma trigger, I'm having a panic attack, maybe you don't understand it, maybe Google it. But to not take that in, if your friends, your well-meaning friends might say, well, just stop it. And don't judge yourself if you can't readily stop it. Again, I am planning on making a video to explain how you can disrupt panic attacks and how you can manage your anxiety so that you can cope better. Still, you want to get it treated, and I, biased as I am, I suggest EMDR. And another thing that I came across, of course, was like, well, how can you work as a therapist if you have your own trauma? And that's almost a little bit funny, but it's also tragic. And I know in Germany there's a belief that only a person who has no problems at all in their life and never had any should be a therapist. Like only somebody who's totally mentally healthy. And I learned a very different approach, that actually a person who has lived through that, through a certain experience, and cope with it and knows it from the inside out and has worked with their own trauma or healed it, knows the process, is actually very well predisposed to help other people get through it. Again, because I recognize it, I know what it's like. I know the experiences, and I can do EMDR. Not with myself. I do need another therapist too. But I use my own experiences to benefit others. Also, at work, I work virtually. So I work with video cameras, so people can come at me violently anyway. Even if they wanted to, I could click the red button and disconnect them. But I don't work with people who come at me violently. That doesn't happen. I work with people who want help with their trauma, and I have wonderful, nice, loving clients with good relationships. If I had a client who triggered my own trauma, so who was very aggressively coming at me, I would acknowledge that my own trauma is being triggered. If that was the case and interfered with my work, so I'm not effective, that I can stay grounded and calm, and would find a referral and get a different therapist for this client who may not be triggered the way I am. So that's why I can be a therapist, and I can experience my own trauma and my own PTSD anxiety and whatever, and talk about it and still work and know where I can work and where, what kind of person I maybe should not be working with or don't want to work with. So if you have a question about that. So yes, therapists do experience symptoms as well. And I think the difference is just that a therapist knows what it is and what to do about it, and hopefully that they don't judge themselves. And I want you to learn from that. So if you experience a panic attack, I'll make another video how to disrupt that. So try to disrupt the panic attack, calm it down, and just write it back in time and see, like, maybe write down the events, track it to the earliest time you remember feeling that way, maybe, so you can make sense of it, and that you understand that what is happening to you and your brain chemistry and your whole body is a perfectly rational response to a traumatic event, to a danger that happened to you once, and it's really just your brain and your body trying to keep you safe. And it maybe got a little bit out of control, and we want to bring down the response and heal the trauma, so you'll still know what's dangerous, but you don't have a panic attack anymore and freak out like that just because it's impractical and it's not so helpful to keep us safe. I hope this was helpful to you. So please treat yourself kindly and use everything that happens to you as a learning opportunity to understand yourself and learn how to take care of yourself. Take care until next time.